Welcome back to Winners and Losers, ladies and gentlemen, the show where we look at Premier League football over the weekend and analyse it to the best of our ability. No Joe this week, no Chris this week, but of course I've got a worthy replacement. Samuel Baski, how are you doing, mate? How's your weekend?
I'm good, brother. Do you know what I mean? I haven't been on Winners and Losers in about a year and a half, I think. So, yeah, nice. It was nice to get the call up. Weekend was good. Had a stag do in Newcastle and it was amazing. Not going to lie to you, definitely going back to that city. Apart from that, I know we're going to talk about the football, so let's just get straight into it.
Indeed. Let's get straight into it. Because our talking point, starting off, it's the title of the video. It's about Manchester United. Obviously, their new manager, Erik Ten Hag, completed his season with Ajax and has spoke about Manchester United properly for the first time in an interview after the games. Now, there are quite a few quotes, and I've picked out certain ones that I think are really, really interesting. And this first one here, he goes from the 16th of May, I am the manager of Manchester United. A lot has to happen in preparation of the new season, such as the implementation of the staff members and the squad for next season. I will make my mark on both, and I want it to be done extremely carefully. Now, obviously, Sam, he's talking about possible positions, people that they can recruit in the summer. What do you think are the main things in terms of the squad? I guess the backroom staff we don't really know too much about. There has been rumours about who he's bringing in, but the squad, what do you think the main things are that need to be done?
I think he's got quite a lot to do, but firstly I'd like to say that I really like the way he's carrying himself recently with him getting the role and how he's moved in interviews. Hasn't really spoke about Manchester United fully until he's now leaving Ajax 6 weeks early, I believe. So I really respect that. But in terms of the squad, I think they've got a lot to do. I think they need a recognised defensive midfielder. I think they're going to need to replace their right back, their left back. I'm sure they're going to try and get another wide man. He's got a lot to do. He's got a lot to do in that United squad. But I think the most important is mainly get the type of mentality that he wants in the team, because obviously we've seen this season a lot of the problems that United have had and all the leaks that we've been seeing is around the players' mentality, what happens when they lose, when they're losing, when they're down at half time and things like that. So I think that's definitely one of the main areas that he needs to improve on, the type of mentality he has, the type of players that he has, but their mentality.
Yeah, and I think with players such as Pogba, Lingard and a few others whose contracts are also running out, I think that will probably help him because he doesn't have to kind of deal with the baggage that had been left before by previous managements. Another quote we've got from here as well is, I look forward to working with Ronaldo. Ronaldo is a giant because of everything he has shown so far and because of how ambitious he is. I want to keep him at Manchester United, of course. He has been very important for this club and can produce great stats. Now, over this season when he joined, and we were talking about it when Erik Ten Hag was going to come in charge, Ronaldo was always kind of considered an issue. I mean, he scored 18 goals in the Premier League for them this season. He's one of the top scorers. I think he might be third behind Son and Salah, but don't quote me on that. And he's come in here straight away and said that he wants Ronaldo to be an important figure. I mean, personally, I didn't quite expect that. What do you make of it, that Ronaldo, it kind of looks like he's going to be starting number 9?
I think it makes sense, man. If we're going to be honest, a lot of people, including myself, questioned, the timing of the Ronaldo signing. We said that United needed, for example, a recognised DM. But I think Ronaldo has done amazing this season. This could be arguably the worst United squad that I've seen in a long time, and he has just continued to perform, not only in the Premier League but also when they were in the Champions League, that their run that they had in there. He was giving them clutch goals, clutch moments, and he's just that type of figure that you would want for a rebuild. And if he's willing to stay, because remember, they're not going to have Champions League football, and that is a huge thing for Cristiano Ronaldo. So if he's staying under these circumstances, that means that he definitely has Manchester United's best interest at heart, and I'm sure Ten Hag will be able to utilise his expertise, his professionalism, and just have that man that is the model professional in your team.
Yeah, and I think obviously with the age that he's at now, 37, and with the striking situation that they have, obviously Cavani could be leaving, and they're even possibly looking to bring in another striker. If you were to lose a guy that scored 18 goals this season for you just in the league, I think it could probably have a lot more negative effects than positive effects. I don't know whether Ronaldo will be starting every single game. That will be quite interesting. And that probably leads you on actually to one of this last quote we've got here, where he goes, "I'm capable of looking every player straight in the eyes. I'm 100% certain of that. I make all my choices in good conscience. The team stands above everything else. I choose the players that I believe give us the most chances of winning." Now, I think, as you said, that is a strong quote there, and he kind of says that he's not afraid to tell the certain players what they need to hear, which kind of feels like what Ralph Rangnick has been doing, to be honest, over the past couple of months. Is there any players in particular that you think may struggle with this, or he'll have to have a few words with?
I don't know if they'll struggle with it, but I think they almost need that type of manager to come in, because I think with Ralph, he has his knowledge of the game is amazing, but his actual managerial expertise, I don't think is up to the level of your Ten Hags or the top managers in world football. So I think with his discipline and how he's trying to come in and saying that he's going to look players in the eye and tell them if you're not good enough, you're not starting. I think they need that reality check, because this season the team that we've seen for that week in, week out, it's just been a shadow of anything that you'd expect from Manchester United. And the fact that it's not just a few players, you can list them off from in all areas of the pitch. They're having problems mentally on the pitch. There's so many leaks that you just wouldn't expect this to happen with Man U. So I think he has to come in with this type of energy. And if he's not listened to, or if they're not taking his instructions, it's good to know that he's saying that I've got the final say. If you're not trying to listen to me, then you're not going to be in the squad.
Yeah, and that is something that I think when he was first dealing with Manchester United and talking to them about maybe being their manager, was one of the issues for him, that if he was to come in, he needs to have the final say. We've seen for years now that United's board and the people above the manager wouldn't quite let the manager do what they wanted to do. And fair play to Erik Ten Hag, he's supposedly had confirmation that they would be willing to do whatever he says. And if that is possible, then we may see a big shift at Old Trafford. And so I'd like to know what you guys at home think about these quotes. Do you think Ronaldo is the starting guy for him next season, or do you think he's going to use him more as an experienced head? I mean, it'd be ridiculous to do that when he's scoring the amount that he's scoring. Let me know in the comments below. We're moving on to our winners now, because of course this weekend was the FA Cup final. Obviously Liverpool versus Chelsea. Didn't go so well for mine and Sam's beloved Blues. It went to penalties in the end. Liverpool won on penalties. They also lifted the FA Cup for the 8th time in their history. Only Arsenal and Manchester United have done it more often, which is very, very impressive. They've also become the first team in history, Chelsea this is, to lose three consecutive finals, starting in 2020 against Arsenal, 2021 against Leicester City, and of course on Saturday against Liverpool. Was really, really hard to take. I think the game in general was pretty close. The first 15 minutes for the first half was all Liverpool. I don't know how Chelsea didn't concede in that, I'm not too sure. And then kind of went a bit more balanced. And in the second half, the first 15 minutes was all Chelsea, and then it went a bit more balanced. Liverpool hit the woodwork twice on the day. I think Chelsea also took a scrape off the post as well. XG had the game in Liverpool's favour of 1.5 to 1. It went to penalties. The last 4 games this season between Liverpool and Chelsea have all gone to draws. The last 2 being the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup going to penalties. Carabao Cup, Liverpool won on penalties, it going to the goalkeepers. This time, unfortunately, Mendy made the save and it went to Mason Mount, who got his saved by Alisson. Is there a positive to take that Chelsea are essentially matching Liverpool this season every single time they've played? But I guess in terms of the cups, they have lost. But is it a positive to take?
Yeah, I think there is. And obviously people are going to say, oh, you guys are Chelsea fans, so you're just going to try and see all the positives and none of the negatives. But the reality is, when we're talking about the best teams in the world, we're talking about Manchester City and Liverpool, and that's because of the squad depth and their relentlessness throughout the whole season. They've lost only, I think, 2 games in the Premier League. They've reached the latter stages of every competition, and a club like Chelsea, who Tuchel's even said that we're trying to emulate that type of style, in terms of challenging for all of those competitions, to be able to have the squad depth to be able to do that. And the fact that we're matching them in these games and it's gone to penalties, both times. And fair enough, I can say the opportunities that, let's say, Pulisic had in the first half, we had a few chances in the second half as well. And I think it was just that killer instinct that we were lacking in front of goal that made it go to, penalties. And that's just a draw of luck. Like, you can't really predict that. You can't say, you deserve to win these penalties because of this. It's literally the luck of the draw, and unfortunately he went in Liverpool's favour. But yeah, I definitely take positives of the fact that with the squad that we have, that people counted us out and were saying that they're going to walk us over because of how confident they are playing. It just shows how good Tuchel is as a manager and how tactically aware he was in that game. But like I said, it's just unfortunate because I honestly, when Mendy saved that Mane penalty, I thought like it was just going to happen. I thought that it was done and we're going to score the rest of the penalties and we're going to win the competition. But like I said, the nerves, and I'm sure even Mason Mount was playing in his head, his record at Wembley, and that what people are going to say and things like losses. That. There's just it's just a lot of pressure for such a young player. But like he said on his Instagram after the game, Chelsea gonna have to bounce back, and we bounced back from situations this season. I think it's even been the story of our season, to be fair. Like it's like near misses with cup finals and the amount of draws that we've had in the league. But yeah, man, next season we go again.
Is there a mentality thing though there, Sam? Obviously 3 FA Cup finals in a row. People talk about Liverpool as the mentality monsters. Losing 3 FA Cup finals in a row, it feels a bit rough. As you said, Mason Mount, I think he's been to Wembley now 6 times, 6 finals, and lost them all.
Yeah, it is. I guess there's that edge that, the Chelsea teams in the past that you can say with like your Drogbas, your Lampards, your Terrys, like when you're going into final, 9 times out of 10 you'd think that you're gonna win. Do you know what I mean? But I think I saw a stat. Don't quote me on this, but I think in the last 16 or so finals, we've lost 10 of them or something along those lines. I
wouldn't be shocked.
And I think that just says a lot about, if you watch those finals, it's not like we're completely deserving of like losing all of them. Do you know what I mean? But it's like those moments where you want that killer instinct, where you want that killer edge, that last ditch tackle. Like, I think we've just not had enough of those moments in those finals, and you can tell that Tuchel is frustrated with that, because the games that he has coached and the teams that he puts out, we're creating chances, we're defensively sound, and we're not leaking too many chances here and there. But it's just that little edge that you need in finals, and sometimes it's also just luck as well. Like you can have a fluff shot and it goes in. We haven't had any of those in a long time. Do you know what I mean? So I think because there's such a narrative around the finals and how many we've lost, there's a lot of pressure now. I saw someone that did a really good analysis on how Klopp and Tuchel spoke to their players leading up to the penalties, and I think the way Tuchel spoke to his players and Klopp, there was just more of that you could tell there was more pressure on Chelsea's end than Liverpool, because Liverpool are almost this team where you almost, like you said, they're mentality monsters, so they're just gonna jug, like they're just gonna do what they need to do to get the win. But with Chelsea, because there's so many narratives, so much pressure here and there, everyone's feeling it, so much has gone on, it takes a toll. It takes a toll on the team. So yeah, hopefully that the team aren't too disheartened about the situations and just go again next season, man.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Jurgen Klopp there. We've got an interview with him talking about the game and winning the FA Cup afterwards. Take a look at this.
A trophy for the whole club, of course for the team, but for the whole club. And we saw before the game already what it means to the people, because our hotel is pretty central. We saw them all partying already since this morning. When we came into the stadium and looked in all the faces, like when we came with the bus, we could see what it means to the people. Then you, on a pitch with the performance, you saw what it means to the players. So that we could make it is absolutely out of this world. It's unbelievable. It's massive.
Moving on to our losers now, and we go to the other side of Merseyside for Everton. This comes at the suggestion of @Manolo911. Thank you very much, mate. If you guys want to get involved, get over to Twitter and make sure you're following us. And that's because Everton lost 3-2 at home to Brentford after leading twice in the game. Now, Branthwaite and Rondon were both sent off in the match for, to be quite honest, avoidable challenges. However, before the first sending off. Everton had a penalty shout that wasn't given and actually led to then Branthwaite getting sent off. And Lampard, it's safe to say, was not very happy with the decision.
Shirt pull was a clear shirt pull. It's a foul in the box. If you're asking Richarlison go down for it, then you're asking people to fall on the floor. My players get criticised when they shouldn't do, in my opinion, recently for going down for fouls that are fouls. And so I think that was a penalty. I can't complain with the red after that. If they don't give that, then it's a red card. I don't want a double fine. You know what I mean? It's the reality is we're on the bad end of a lot of decisions this season. I do believe that penalty on the shirt pull means maybe 2-0 and 11 men. And I think we all know how that game goes.
To be honest, I can completely understand his frustration when a decision like that doesn't go for you, and then you get a man sent off. And I think the decision, like we've seen penalties like that given, so I can hear his frustration, and obviously a man getting sent off and then just leading to their capitulation. And it's happened quite a few times for Everton. So yeah, I understand Lampard's frustration, but it wasn't a must-win game. They're still 2 points ahead of the drop, and they're 1 point ahead of Leeds, and they've also got a game in hand on Leeds. So it's not panic stations. Obviously, winning the game would have been great, and it would have helped them out like tremendously. But they've still got a midweek.
Twice,
yeah, exactly, leading twice, and I think that's a credit to how Everton have been recently. To be fair, they've turned it around, in my opinion. I think it almost looked like they were just going to get relegated because they were playing so badly. It seemed like the fans were detached from the players, and there was just like a bad energy. But I think Lampard's really done well in terms of lifting the energy. The fans seem like they're really up for the fight. The players seem like they're up for the fight as well. Now they've got a midweek game against Palace, who've been quite consistent this season, so that's going to be a tough game. And then they've got a game against Arsenal on the final day, who are going to be fighting for that top 4 spot with Spurs. So it's going to be like a very, very long and grueling run for Everton. But what do you actually reckon? Do you think Everton are going to get relegated, or do you see it as one of the other two, Leeds or Burnley?
It's tough. It's really tough. Obviously, the game in hands are, I think, really, really beneficial, obviously. Though, that being said, Everton's is against Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace are a strong side. But in their favour, it's at Goodison Park, which, as you mentioned, has been incredible. The atmosphere watching,
it's been amazing,
just from TV, and the way the players are entering as well. That it just shows that they're kind of all as one, trying to do what they can. I think again the fans were doing fireworks outside of the hotel. And the narrative could have been very different. They did that against Chelsea, and they beat Chelsea. They almost beat Brentford, and it shows that it's definitely helping in some way, shape, or form. And so, if they're not easy, as you said, Everton have to play Palace and Arsenal. Leeds only have to play Brentford, but that is away and not an easy game whatsoever. And Burnley have to play Villa on Thursday, and then Newcastle on the last day of the season. So they're all tough games, to be quite honest. Not necessarily any of them are winnable fixtures, you would say. But I feel like I could see Burnley getting a point from at least one of those two games, and I don't think Leeds would beat Brentford, and just a point would then bring it down to goal difference, and Leeds' goal difference is so bad compared to everyone else's. As for Everton, like I could see them at, again getting a point from a Palace game, maybe less so the Arsenal one. But yeah, so that for me would be Leeds getting relegated. So goodbye Leeds, and hopefully I guess it won't take you as long to come back up next time. But who knows? It's football, and to be honest, quite a lot of my predictions are wrong. So Leeds fans can be over the moon with that. Moving on though to our moment of the weekend, I think there's only one that we can really mention here: Mark Noble and his retirement. Here's a little clip after his last home game for West Ham.
There's Mark Noble kissing goodbye to the fans at the London Stadium. Of course, he may well be involved next week at Brighton, but in terms of home, this is it. Home, of course, was Upton Park initially. Look at the numbers of fans who want to pay tribute to him. Made his debut over 17 and a half years ago as a sub in a League Cup win against Southend at Upton Park. That was August 2004. I'm sure he couldn't have imagined that he'd still be going on now. More Premier League appearances, more wins, more assists, more goal involvements than any other player in the Premier League for West Ham.
So that is all the time we have for today's episode of Winners and Losers. Hope you guys have enjoyed it. If the people at home want to see more Football Daily content, where can they go, Sam?
Go over to Snapchat, where I am on a regular basis, and we're talking about the stories that you don't necessarily see us talk about on YouTube. So go over there, subscribe, and I'd say hello, but you can't really say hello on Snap. Just tune in.
Just watch us. Yes, thank you very much. Click the like button if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to Football Daily, and we'll see you next week. Bye.